Hi, I'm Alexis Lopez, and this is Pop Culture Oppression Obsession, PopCOO, where we look at pop culture through a critical theory, equity, and representation lens. Today we're joined by our honored guest, Bree Sadira Rose, local musician, healer, poet, writer, salon host, and creative person, whose newest project, Stone Circles Collective, sees her traveling the realm of the end-of-life doula. Hi! Hey, how are you today?
Whee! Oh, I'm hanging in there. I'm feeling good, but the world is what it is, so it's kind of a paradox.
Yeah, right? It's like almost this little bit of our own happiness. We have to parse it out and guard it, lest we ourselves feel guilty for it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh my God. Yeah. I want to thank you for joining me. There are fewer people in Seattle and in the various communities that we have overlapped that I respect as much as you, and I just want you to know that. That's why I'm really glad that you're here.
You were my very first friend in Seattle.
Aw, was I really? I was, huh?
Sure, yeah, you were my first friend. It was, 15 years ago now.
Wow, how old were you?
I was 22.
Oh my God, just barely drinking.
I'd been drinking for a minute.
Well, right. I guess why don't we, let's start with your new project. Let's start with the Stone Circles Collective. Tell us, where does the collective come from?
Well, it comes from, I had been, for the last couple of years, I've been just immersing myself in trainings, readings, studies, hospice work to become an end-of-life doula. I have a degree in psychology. I did my senior seminar on rituals at end-of-life funerary and death rituals, and learned about home funerals and rights and advocacy, and it really felt like the right path to be on. And in following that path, it becomes really clear really quickly that it's not a solo journey. Right. It's something that it takes a village to do that sort of thing, just like with birth, with natural birth, and you have birth doulas and you have a group, because sometimes that process is going to take days, and you got to switch hands with somebody who you know that their values are aligned with yours and who you absolutely respect their way of thought, ceremony, and all of that. And
so if I can ask then, have you found that there is an embracing community of folks that you can trust, or has that been harder to find in Seattle or anywhere?
Oh no, I absolutely, any death doula I come across, or end-of-life doula who I come across in my network, not just in Seattle, but all over, like the time of COVID has just kind of made distance irrelevant, because everybody we're talking to is like this.
Yeah, right.
Connecting with everybody I can, because I feel like it's so inspiring that we are on the same path, and it's just like, oh my gosh, tell me everything that you're doing, tell me about your vision, let me tell you about mine, what can I learn from you, how can we collaborate? So in the Seattle area, I wanted to start my own death doula business, and I wanted to join forces with other doulas who I know and trust, so that we can be a source of support for each other and a potential source of support for the people that we're helping to cross over, or we're helping to have a home funeral for, or sitting vigil for days at a time, or laying in state after they've died. We all have our very own businesses, so that we are independently working. Working with other people in a business sense is a little bit more challenging, but having a collective of people who I trust, who we each have our own business, is what Stone Circles is made of.
Wow. And how big is the collective right now?
Right now we're keeping it small, so it's 4 doulas, and then one other person who I started it with, who is doing kind of a more behind-the-scenes creative aspect. She's going to be doing some Victorian mourning jewelry. I also want to include artisans who will be... Yeah, we're like thinking tintype photography, Victorian hair jewelry, wood burned urns, things that we can involve the Seattle artist community into, revolving around death, so that it can be such a curated, beautiful experience.
Oh my God, that's so fucking amazing. And the reason, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the fact that you see, okay, so you want to talk about our last.
Have you ever had a dream that you had taboo
processes, right? Like what you were describing earlier. There's that thing called chain of custody, right? And I've been through so many times with so many dead people. I show up, I call the cops go, "We got this now." And then the cops go to the medical examiner takes it to the funeral home, and it's treated like you're dealing with something that you'd rather not deal with, that you want to make as quick as possible, and you want to hold your nose. But to watch you have your psychology degree and your knowledge, and you have a magical community, and you're bridging that gap in the most respectful way. And I really respect what you're doing, because
it's also my way to help the communities to have that power and sovereignty in death. That's things that you don't think about. Corpse custody, like you were saying. People in magical communities and LGBTQ communities have to find their own family in many of the cases. In many cases, their blood family is not who has open arms for them when they're hurting, when they're crying, when they're happy. You find your family. The time of death, those people who held you in life are no longer allowed to hold you. It's the person who is not there for them who gets to swoop them away. And so part of the way that I advocate is I hold advanced care directive workshops where they can name the person on the form who is going to have custody of their body and who is going to be taking care of their funerary rituals. And then I'll notarize that shit, and it's legal. And it's just the awareness isn't there that is even a possibility. So what Stone Circles does, they're trying to spread that awareness, advocate for people, and make sure that they have their identity, their chosen names, all of the things that they fight for so hard, continuing on in death, and their community can hold them and take care of their bodies. That's just the way
that's amazing. Absolutely. And it's funny because when you're talking about oppression, right, it is so interconnected. And you're doing something that I wish more people would do, which is zeroing in on one particular problem and then just drilling the down, becoming fluent in it, and becoming a force for being able to help, right? Being able to connect people. We are all so generally demoralized that maybe we'll show up to a protest, but then we'll just be like, well, what can I do? And I keep telling everybody, pick one. You've got a whole bunch of things you believe in. Just pick that one. Pick that one. Like for me, honestly, it's media justice, right? That's why I have folks like you. That's why I have Pop Culture Oppression Obsession. And it's not a big deal. Like critiquing somebody's movie trailer to show how racist it is fucking worthless, except as a tapestry, right? And what you're doing, I mean, it's obviously not worthless, but it's so reclamatory. I don't know. I find it exciting. So anyway, I'm going to be singing a little praises in between. Okay. This is going to be a weird question. You can tell me to off if it sits with you wrong. In all ritual, there's a part of ritual that is for other people to view. And so a lot of folks who are outwardly supporting ritual end up being kind of performers as well. Have you found that is in any way a part of end-of-life doulaing for you?
I think that it has its place. It shouldn't be the focus. I've absolutely partaken in rituals for death to do clearings, and I want to be by myself for a lot of those. I want to create the sacred space and not have anybody viewing who's not participating, and that's really important for me. In order to have kind of a magic and collective ritual when it comes to end of life, if there are several people in a room and the death plan has been written, the person who is dying has stated how they want the lighting, the music, we've got candles, and it's just like that reverence there. There's herbs being bundled that represent different things regarding end of life and crossing over. There can be so much ritual for everybody involved that creates a community peace of mind and connects everybody together in such a sacred moment.
In fact, I could see that with the right questions and with the right direction, you could enter into a household and you could ask these core questions and you could evolve an end-of-life ritual for them that is appropriate.
Yeah, and like I'm not there to speak for them. Part of the reason we do advanced care directives and death plans is so that they can have that voice while they can, and then have an advocate to speak it for them when they can no longer speak it.
Oh yeah, because it goes out. So I'm wondering, one of the things that I've respected about you since the beginning is that you really love a good collaboration. You love a good meeting of equals, getting excited and doing something. Does the collaboration and end-of-life doulaing with your community, what are the similarities between that and collaborating with musicians and stuff?
I think with any kind of niche group, there's going to be a lot of mirroring issues. So not something that I'm directly experiencing, especially with my collective. I've seen and heard about, and in the musical creative community as well, is there's this really unnecessary rivalry. That it's just like, why is there a competition when everybody's got this unique, beautiful thing to bring to it? We're all on the same side, and people really forget that.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to remember and to keep humble.
Yeah, because if you're doing what you love, when someone joins you, it's like, oh my God, more hands to do what we love, right? Like that's why, for me, as a collectivist, I love collaborating. And I'm only ever disappointed by folks who, they get that short-term burst and then it dies off. And then I'm like, shit, okay, I'm still excited. So then I revert back to my solo stuff. And then I'm like, no, I want to collaborate. So then I'll reach out and then it's another short term. So that's one of those rhythms that...
Yeah, but that's why it's important for people like you and me. We've figured out that we need to have that baseline that we have control over so that we always have that to fall back on. We're not fully dependent on other people in order to move ourselves forward.
Yeah.
That's where it really gets frustrating, is when your creative momentum or the momentum of your business is stifled by someone else's lackluster attitude.
Absolutely.
Part of the reason why I wanted to just have my own solo business, I fully support and lift up and move forward with other people. But if anybody else is falling out in any way, I'm still got my path.
So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I am just so grateful.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Well, I will let you go.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was great. If you have an idea for a pop culture critique or want to join us in this endeavor, we need the most many voices we can to show up, to speak up, to act out, serious. If you watch this and said to yourself, I can get behind what you're trying to do here, then leave us a comment, like this video, subscribe to our channel. I'll see you the next and every time that pop culture or any culture is used as a weapon against us.